Welcome to Rise and Energize, your high vibe recharge session for anytime you need a bit of practical encouragement, a mindset shift, or pep talk to boost your day. I'm your host, Morgan, and I love sharing stories, tips, and tricks that help us find the spark we need to move forward with purpose. Whether you're working on your career, your health, or your relationships, this show helps you stop overthinking and start stepping into the version of yourself you know you're capable of being. Let's get into it. Hello. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. Today is a special episode because if you've been listening, you probably know that I am married. My husband, Jared, and I are going on 10 years married this week. And I mention him on the podcast a lot. And I know that he listens to some of the episodes too. So sorry, babe, that I air out all of your personal business sometimes on here. But I wanted to specifically have an episode that was around this topic of some of the things that I feel like we do that are kind of routine in our relationship that keep our marriage healthy and keep us connected. And I guess for lack of a better word, they're like rituals that we have. And they could be, and when I think of a ritual, it's like something that you do on a routine basis. So it's kind of a habit or a routine. I don't know. The reason that ritual comes to mind is because when I was in college, my degree was in human development and family sciences. That's like a very specific degree, but it's at the University of Missouri, Mizzou. And it's HDFS is the acronym for it. And my emphasis was families and lifespan development. And one of the classes that I had to take was called intimate relationships. And I remember in that class, we had to read, a textbook, but then also we had to read supporting articles throughout the class. And one of the articles really stuck with me. And at the time, my husband and I were together, but not married yet. But we've been together since high school, and we kind of expected that we would end up married together, I think, at least on my end. And so at the time, I remember that we had to read an article, and it was a survey of old couples, like couples that had been married a very long time. So couples that had lasted longer than a lot of marriages do. And okay, what are some of the things that are similar across these couples in whatever survey this was? Obviously, this is not a very good citation of this. So I'm totally not giving credit where credit is due, but it was many, many years ago. So I don't really remember the exact article or study, but I just remember it stuck with me, the takeaway, which was that something that was pretty similar across the board with these couples was that they had they called it rituals, I believe, but regular rituals or just routine connection points throughout their days or their weeks or their months that kept them connected and just gave them an opportunity to connect with one another. And I remember that really sticking with me. And Jared, my husband, probably also knows that it stuck with me because I'm constantly looking for, he's like, you just love like a rule, or if you're watching on YouTube, I'm putting air quotes because I'm like, it's not a rule. It's like a ritual or a routine or a connection point. But he's like, you just love a rule, don't you? Which honestly, I do love something that I can follow. I love, if you know me, I love a plan. I love having an organized method of doing something. It just like, that makes it simple, right? And it makes it easy and it makes it a no-brainer. And so that really stuck with me. And I do often come up with the little like rules or rituals that we do, but I am lucky that I have a partner that is supportive of them and will engage in them with me and even initiate them sometimes himself as well. And so these are just things I wanted to go through some of the regular rituals that we have in our 10 years of marriage that have either started like very at the beginning of our marriage or that we've picked up along the way in different seasons of life. And really, I'm not saying that you should do these exact things, but just to give you ideas of what you can do in your partner relationships. And I know not everybody listening to this is married, but if you say that you're single and you do want to be married, these are things that you can keep in mind for a future relationship. These can also be applied if there is a relationship that you're really trying to build. You can still try to have some regular rituals or routines with those people as well, even if that's like a familial relationship or a friend relationship. something like that. And then also, if you are in a relationship but you're not married yet, you don't have to be married to start having those connection points and forming those routines that you can build on later. So hopefully this is helpful to you, whether you're married or not, and whether you plan to get married or not. But the idea is just something to help you engage with your partner mostly. I know that this is a more specific episode to partnership just because we're celebrating our wedding anniversary this week, but you can also apply it to other relationships. So I know this episode's a little bit more specific, so I like to keep the episodes more broad to where you could apply it to work or hobbies or home life or friends or family or your side hustle, whatever. This is a little bit more specific, but hopefully you still find enjoyment from it. And if you aren't married and you want to send this to your married friends and say, hey, I know you just got married, or I know you were talking about wanting to connect with your partner, maybe these are some things that you could consider doing. I would love if you sent it to them. So one thing that we started doing very early on in our marriage was, I really think that we started this very, like maybe even day one of our marriage, was saying the best part of our day right before we go to sleep. So something that we do every night, even if we don't go to bed at the same time, because often I go to bed before Jared because I also wake up before Jared. I like to wake up and work out before he wakes up. And so a lot of the time I'll go to bed like 30 minutes to an hour before he goes to bed, but he still comes up, says goodnight to me, kind of tucks me in, and we say the best part of our day. And this does a few things, I think. First of all, it gives us a connection point because it's kind of a quote unquote rule that we have. So it forces us to connect at the end of the day. It also forces us to look at something positive at the end of the day. So ending the day, no matter what craziness happened, even if some negative things happened, ending the day on a positive note. And especially like if we had an argument or something earlier in the day, still having something that we're connecting on that is positive before the end of the day. So love this. It's something that we've been doing for almost 10 years now. And I think that it's such an easy thing to initiate. I know I had talked to one of my sisters about this many, many years ago when we first started doing it. And I think they were doing 3 good things that happen during the day, or some people do their high and their low. You can do whatever you want, but I just think it's a fun ritual. Another thing that we do, and this started during COVID, I think I have talked about this on the podcast before, but another thing that we do is we break up our work days with walks. So we take a morning walk and an afternoon walk. And we do this with our dog now, but when we started it, it was because everything had been shut down and we were both working from home in our 1-bedroom apartment at our kitchen table. And we had one of those open concept apartments. So our kitchen went straight into our living room, and then we had 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom. So the kitchen was really the only place that we could work from. And so we're both right there, sometimes on calls at the same time. I'd have to like go sit on my bed if he was on a call at the same time that I was on a call or something like that, so that we weren't interfering, talking at the same time. It was just a little like we were cramped. And so we started doing a walk at the beginning of the day and a walk at the end of the day. Now, I feel like our walks at the end of the day, our juices are flowing a little bit more, like we're actually talking a little bit more. At the beginning of the day, we're a little bit more sleepy, tired, groggy, maybe even a little bit grumpy, so we don't talk a whole bunch. But it is an opportunity to connect, and a lot of the time on the walks, it's a way for us, like especially at the beginning of the day, if something's coming up in the day that we need the other person to know about, it's a good time to kind of calibrate and even from a logistical standpoint, get in sync about what our day is going to look like. And then at the end of the day, just talking about how it's been. And I talked to my therapist a little bit about this because another one of the rituals that I have it last on this list, but I'll just talk about it now. But at our afternoon walk a little bit ago, maybe like a year or 2 ago, we started rating our day, like 1 out of 10. What would you rate your day? And my therapist did tell me that that's not the best method, because if you already are kind of like a depressive person, you can pretty much already guarantee that your day is never going to be a 10, and that can be even more depressing. And so if you rate your day and it's like, oh, it's a 5 or a 2 or, lower than you want it to be, a numerical scale, I guess, is not the best way to do that. But we do a lot of other things that increase the positivity. Maybe we'll change this up. But regardless, another thing that my therapist was telling me was that a lot of the time with relationships, it's really good to build in time that you're not talking about work. And something that I find on these afternoon walks that is helpful for us is we can kind of get the work talk out of the way. Because I don't know about you guys, but if you work full time or your spouse works full time, it's really easy to just fall into what you did at work or who's annoying you at work or the meeting that you had at work, what's changing. It's really easy to fall into just talking about that because that's the majority of the time that you spend during the day. I would imagine if you had kids, it's similar. You're always just talking about what the kids did during the day or, oh, the kids have to do this, the kids have to do that. Here's the schedule for the kids. But this is kind of a time that we could get that out of the way. We can kind of talk about, oh, how was your work day? And then that's out of the way. And so the rest of the evening, by the time we've gotten home from our walk, which we don't spend all of our walks talking about work, but by the time we get home from our walk, it's really nice because then we can talk about fun stuff. We have already talked about work and kind of debriefed on work. So now we can talk about weekend plans, or we can talk about the TV show that we want to watch, or the books that we're reading, or what's coming up, the vacation we have coming up, anything. We can talk about those on the walks too. But I guess what I'm saying is having this designated time to end the workday and break up the workday from home is so helpful. And when we started it in COVID, it was truly just because there was no break between home life and work life. And now, I mean, that kind of could be true again because we both work remotely again now. That hasn't always been the case since we've been doing this routine, but it is just really helpful for you to break up the workday from your personal life. And obviously not everybody's schedules allows for them to take a walk with their spouse morning and evening, but if there is some time during the week that you can build in a walk, it is so nice. And sometimes, to be totally truthful with you, sometimes it is an opportunity to bring up like something more vulnerable. I don't know if that makes sense, but sometimes on these walks, I find that because we're in motion, we're side by side, we don't have to like look each other in the eyes necessarily. And there's not a bunch of other things going on around the house that like we could necessarily be distracted by. We do get distracted by our dog a little bit and like squirrels and all that. But for the most part, we're just doing that walk. It is an opportunity for when something comes up that you've been wanting to talk to them about, that you can talk about. And you've got that duration of that walk that you can talk about it. So sometimes I find that some of our best conversations start whenever we are on a walk and sometimes end, but a lot of the time they start because then we keep talking about them afterward and revisiting later. So highly encourage it. I think this is a ritual that we really love, and built into that, we have started doing like a year or two ago, what would you rate your day, scale of 1 to 10, which take it or leave it because my therapist says it's not totally the best metric. The next one is one that my husband actually initiated. And honestly, with the rate your day and the walks, I don't remember who initiated those. I think I probably initiated them. But the next one that we have is, we call it coworker lunch, but it's just a weekly meal. So any kind of weekly meal that you can go out with your partner. You don't even have to go out. One time we packed our lunches and went to the park. And sometimes I have like different dietary preferences from my husband. So sometimes we'll go somewhere and I'll pack something and he'll get something to go, or vice versa. So it doesn't have to be all about the food, but just an opportunity to get out of the house, go somewhere new, and connect with your spouse over a meal is so nice. And it doesn't have to be expensive and it doesn't have to be crazy. Like none of our coworker lunches are, but the reason we call them coworker lunch is because we both work remote. So none of our coworkers do we ever see in person. And so we pretend that we are each other's coworkers, and our dog. We don't bring our dog, sadly, on the coworker lunches, but he's a great coworker. He's just a little lazy. He sleeps all day, but he does guard the door for us. So that's really important. Anyway, when I went fully remote, my husband recommended that maybe we could do coworker lunch just to get ourselves out of the house once a week. And I think that you could build this in anywhere during the week. It doesn't have to be lunch, could be breakfast, dinner, whatever works with your schedule, but it is a nice thing to get out of the house. Another thing that kind of goes with that we've been doing for several years since I started a hybrid job. My job before was a couple days home office and then a couple days out in the field, basically in my car the whole time, traveling from place to place. And we kind of established that Friday mornings, for the most part, because sometimes I did have to be out in the field on Friday mornings, but for the most part, I could schedule for Friday mornings for that to be the home office admin type of day. And we started, it has to be like 4 or 5 years ago at this point. I think we heard another couple suggest this actually, but we started doing Friday coffee dates, and we just take our laptops because we're fortunate enough to be able to work from another place that has Wi-Fi. And we take our laptops and we go to a coffee shop. For a while, we were trying to find new coffee shops each time. Like we were bouncing around the city, going to a different place each week. Now we kind of land at our favorite one almost every Friday just because I love them so much. And they change their cold foam every Friday, which I'm normally not even a cold foam girly, but I'm a big fan girly of this local coffee shop. It's called Scout. And we end up there almost every Friday. But regardless, we go to a coffee shop, we bring our laptops, and we work from usually like from 8-ish to like 11-ish, sometimes 8:30 to 11:30, basically the morning until lunch. And then we come home and we eat lunch and we go back to work from our home offices. But this is just a Friday tradition that's fun. It's something to look forward to throughout the week. So even if you don't go work from a coffee shop, maybe you could go through a coffee drive-through on Friday mornings, or you could do this on a different day of the week, whatever your Friday is. I know some people don't work Monday through Friday. So whatever your Friday is, maybe this is something, but it's a connection point with your spouse. It's something you can look forward to. It's just the idea of building in these routine, consistent things, because once you have those routine, consistent things, it's hard for you to like ignore. I know a lot of people talk about falling out of love or falling out of you just kind of get out of sync with your partner, which I do too sometimes as well. But these built-in things, we have these connection points all throughout the week so that if we are out of sync, we have an opportunity to relieve that. Or if you're someone like me, I'm very much a physical touch person when it comes to my love language. And so sometimes throughout the week, if we haven't been able to be around each other very much, in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I am worried that he doesn't like me anymore. That's not really true, but I'm worried he's like annoyed with me or we're not connecting or whatever. And all it takes is us to get in the car to go to coffee and him grab my hand or something. I'm like, oh, cool. He loves me again. Great. So it's just, no matter what your love language is, it gives you an opportunity to connect and just resync with them. I hope that makes sense. And then the last thing, I feel like now that I'm talking about these things, we have something almost every day of the week. But then the last thing that we do, and honestly, I wish that we did this every night, but that's just not realistic in America. I just don't think this is the case. But I think most people, or not most people, but a lot of people watch TV while they eat, and that's totally fine. A lot of people just eat on the couch while they're watching TV. But I really love the idea of sitting at the table and eating dinner together. And so kind of a compromise is that on Thursdays are our day that we eat dinner at the table together. And maybe this is something you do every night, and I applaud you if you do. But that is our designated night to eat dinner at the table. It's like, just, we know that we both have agreed on that. And unless something weird is going on, like one of us is traveling or we have other obligations, we can switch which day of the week we do. But Thursday is just known that we do that. And I can't emphasize enough that once you guys decide this quote unquote rule or routine or ritual, whatever you call it, the reason that it's nice to have it set as a quote unquote rule is because then there's no thought that has to go into it. Like it's just a given that you both have. And so you both know that that's an expectation between the two of you. And yeah, it just makes it easier, I think. And maybe at the beginning, it's not easy to get into the habit, but once you've done it a few times, as the person that like kind of makes the quote unquote rules a lot of the time, I was surprised the first time I was like, I want to do this. And my husband actually followed through. And not to put him down or anything, it was just in my head. I was like, oh, men don't really follow through, whatever. But after me doing it, I think of the first one I said, the best part of our day. After me being like, hey, what was the best part of your day at the end of the night, several nights in a row, I remember the first time that I went to bed, and I think I was a little angry or something. I went to bed and I like specifically intentionally did not ask the best part of his day. And then he was like, what's the best part of your day? And then since then, I always think we should just still do it, even if we're mad or whatever. I know you're not supposed to go to bed angry, but that was 10 years ago, so whatever. But regardless, I think these specific rituals aren't the point. It's just the point is having things built into your week or your month or whatever it is. I focus more on daily and weekly things in this episode, but you can also have monthly check-ins. We do like a budget meeting once a month, or we're trying to get in the habit of doing a budget meeting once a month. You can have home ownership check-ins. You can have whatever kind of check-ins that you want to have. But once it is a habit or a routine, it makes it hard for you guys to not connect throughout the week. I hope that this makes sense and is helpful for you. And I'm so grateful to you for listening to this episode to help me celebrate our 10-year wedding anniversary. It's so crazy. I swear we got married when we were like 5 years old. So woohoo, very excited. And I love you. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. If you love this episode, it would mean so much to me if you would share it with a friend that could benefit from it, like right now, or on social media and tag me so I can say thank you. Until next time, talk to you soon.